Good morning, everyone. I hope you all had a good rest. Welcome to the Malaysian Architecture Education Online Lecture Series, proudly presented by MASA. This lecture is entitled Architecture and Travel by Abd Muluk bin Abdul Manan. Thank you for joining us today. For those who are new, MASA stands for Malaysia Architecture Students Alliance. It is a non-profit student committee acting directly under PAM, also known as Pertubuhan Architect Malaysia, and it consists of student representatives from all architecture institutions in Malaysia. During this time of RMCO, MASA and PAM have decided to launch this online lecture series for students to be more productive and gain more insights. Architect Adrianta is the head of PAM Education, and Dr. Zach Zairo is the convener. There will be more series coming up after this one, so do keep in touch with MASA's Instagram and Facebook page. My name is Janelle Lansing, a MASA representative from UPM, and I will be your MC for today. Now, I would like to introduce our speaker, Mr. Abdul Muluk bin Abdul Manan. Encik Abdul Muluk graduated from Universiti Technology Mara, UITM Shah Alam, with a diploma in architecture, or LAM Part 1, in 1990, and an advanced diploma in architecture, also known as LAM Part 2, in 1995. Since then, he has worked for several companies, holding various positions, from design and project architect to project manager. Although an architect by profession, he is also an active trainer, lecturer, and researcher. On many occasions, he was invited as design critic panels for UIA, UITM, UKM, UPM, IUKL, UCSI, and Taylor's University. He also occasionally gives lessons on architecture and its history to tourist guides from Selangor and Kuala Lumpur Tourist Guides Association. He joined Universiti Tunku Abdul Rahman, also known as UTAR, in May of 2014, and currently pursuing his PhD at Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, UKM, while continuing his position as a specialist in UTAR. He has extensive architectural traveling experience and has traveled to part of Asia, Australia, Europe, and Africa, collecting data for his personal and collaborative research projects. He has presented several research papers based on his research projects at seminars and workshops in various countries, including MASA Conference in Jakarta, International Education Asian Architects in the Academy Conference UAP of the Philippines in Manila, a conference in Jaipur, India, and as a speaker at the second WUICACE Unwar Bali on tourism infrastructure development. He is a member of Lembaga Architect Malaysia and Majlis Akreditasi Pengajian Seni Bina, the national accreditation body for architectural education. He is also an active member of Pertubuhan Architect Malaysia, PAM Education Committee, and has been appointed convener of various PAM programs and competitions, including the annual PAM Architecture Students Work Exhibition. Recently, he was appointed as a non-corporate PAM Council member. Now, I am sure that after such a long introduction, Encik Muluk is itching to begin, and everybody is looking forward to the lecture. Please remember that we will have a Q&A session at the end of the talk, and if you have any questions, feel free to type them down in the chat box so we can attend to them at the end of the sharing. That is all from me. Mr. Abdul Muluk, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the very long thank you for coming to my talk. This is not, I'm trying to organize this talk in such a way that it doesn't sound like a lecture, because today being a Sunday, so I don't think it's a nice day. It is more like a sharing session sharing my experience about traveling. So that's why the title of the talk is very open-ended. I mean, it's very general because I'm going to cover only certain things about traveling, especially for students. Okay. An insight into the lifestyle of various people and those observing that proves beneficial in making architecture human-centric, while giving a sense of direction to thoughts on how to vary the present design for a future one. Traveling open doors to timeless architecture. So I think all of us know by now that in order for you to be a good designer, you need to travel and look at how other designers or how other architects design their work. That's one thing. And you also need to learn about human behavior, because we are designing for human being. So, you know, the limited number of human interaction that we have daily will not be enough for us to learn everything for the needs of our design development. So that's why we need to travel. And to travel is to make a journey. But what would a journey be if the traveler doesn't grow through it? Wouldn't that equal to just moving from one place to the other without really gathering anything? It certainly would. So that's why as an architect, we are not the same like tourists. When we travel, we don't do like what tourists did, where usually they travel to a spot or a building or a landmark just to take some selfies, you know, just to gawk at the building and then quickly move to the next destination. So as an architect, I think we shouldn't do that, because we need to really understand and also have more immersive experience in a place. Okay, and when we are talking about traveling to explore architecture, it becomes imperative that an architecture student must learn that traveling becomes analog to growing in their world. Okay, in this photo, you can see there are two photos here. One is the casino in Karachi, Pakistan, which is no longer there. I think they have demolished it. And then the second one is a pyramid. You know that as an architecture student, we learn about history of architecture. Sometimes we look at photograph, we couldn't really get a three-dimensional feel of how the structure or how the buildings look like. So that's why it's very important that we go and see for ourselves and experience it to appreciate it. So that's why I think that why architect travel. Okay, the second slide, why architect must travel. So this one, more emphasis on must travel. So, you know, I think that an architect who do not travel have a very limited understanding on the needs of certain segment of society, you know, when they, especially when they come to design public building. Okay, I list down 8 things that a reason for architects to travel. You know, the first thing being sit and observe. Sit and observe meaning that whenever you travel, inevitably you will spend a lot of time at airports, at transportation terminals, you know, waiting for your flight. This can take 5-6 hours sometimes, you know, waiting. And then the flight itself will take like another, you know, another few hours. So if you are an architect or students of architecture, you shouldn't be wasting your time by, you know, browsing through your phones or something like that. But what you need to do is just sit and observe the goings on going, I mean here by sit and observe. And then the second one is connecting with people having varied interests. Number 3, history, culture, and folklore. Number 4, similarities and differences. Later, I'm going to explain it more detail in the next slides. Architecture of simplicity, rural and urban fabric study, architects and their works, and Mother Nature. And when we are talking about traveling to explore architecture, it becomes imperative that an architecture student must learn that traveling becomes analogs to growing in the world. Okay, the first one is sit and observe. Most of the journey begin with a hour-long wait at public transportation hubs and give us architect a chance to just sit and observe. Being stranded innumerable times at airports while waiting for flights, I realized that we are wired to, we tend to observe the smallest of things, become aware of several energy spheres that surround us, and this exchange energy that is exciting. This is preventing all the, this is prevalent in all the hubs where we get to see the frequency of people zooming in and out. Talking, killing time, hurrying, laughing, anxious, busy tugging along kids with them and taking up business calls, talking loudly with friends, relatives, window shopping, browsing through magazines, and etc. There's many things that happen in an airport. Especially airport nowadays, like Singapore Changi Airport, it's not only mere transportation hub, but has been transformed into like a city by itself, or a destination by itself. We have everything going on at the same time in the same place, and the points when we just sit and observe and can teach us a lot about people, their behavior, their activities, and their atmosphere. Anthropometric, because this is where you observe. They come in various sizes, not all are similar like this. That also teach us about how they sit at the public area. Their anthropometrics, circulation, we can observe where things are well designed and where things are not well designed. And then when we reach our hotel, same things also, we can observe the goings on in our own hotel. And of course, the last one, food culture. Whenever we go, we travel, we always come across a new kind of food that maybe we are not familiar with. Okay, in the photo, you can see the first photo is actually an airport in Taiwan. You can see like filled with people that trying to queue through the immigration process. So you can hear many languages spoken. People are trying to look for their loved ones around the crowd and things like that. And some are trying to figure out the entry requirement to the countries. So all this you can observe. And at the same time, you look at the architecture of this airport, the curved roof for the terminal, the airport terminal, also is an interesting sight for you to observe. And other modes of transportation, like whenever I travel, I always use public transportation. I go on buses. I go on boats, ferry, whenever you travel in some of the area. And when you travel, you also taste the local food. And then you can, while doing that, I mean, like the photo shows that I'm sitting at the roadside there, having coffee with some locals, Vietnamese. It's a culture in Vietnam to sit a very low stool by the roadside drinking coffee, because they have a very interesting coffee culture in Vietnam cities. And of course, eating round tables at one of my homes in Hanoi. we eat the it's like a traditional food of Vietnamese people. Okay, the next one is connecting with people having varied interests. The first one is the people that have same interest with us, like an architect. You know, usually when you travel to attend conference or you attend architecture gatherings, these are people with the same interest, like architects. You know, but you don't. You also meet with people who have different interests. Eh? Like other professionals, maybe, you know, or just other people. The moment we bank on journeys, we brush across people, may it be from our own group or unknown people headed to the same destination, yet having a plethora of stories and experiences to share in an environment that's away from the routine and daily hustle bustle. That detachment from the comfort zone builds on to a complete riot of unforgettable incidents, fascinating experiences, and innumerable moments which are spent together in a different place, in a different zone, amidst different people, eating varieties of food, sharing number of talks, laughing, and etc. There's a lot of things that happen. So as from my experience here, the top photo, you can see that photo of me hanging out with some new friends that I've met in Sydney. You know, walking around, and also international conference in Lahore, Pakistan. These are the students from Asian countries, from Philippines, from Japan, from Korea, and some of the photo shows that some invited me to their home. That photo in the middle there, you can see me eating on the floor with my newfound Bangladeshi friend. I mean, the food is being sent to us to their house. And also the photo of me at Xi'an City with the backdrop of that drum tower at the back. She actually volunteered to show me around because she wants to learn how to speak English. I guess this happened quite a lot. When you travel to Vietnam, when you travel to Cambodia, Thailand, you will find someone from the park. Sometimes, you know, students come and approach you and want to have a conversation with you because they need to practice their English. And then the last photo, me with my host from Bangladesh. She treated me to a very fancy restaurant in Bangladesh, showing traditional food. Okay, I put that number 3, total strangers. To me, strangers are friends that you have not met yet. So that's my how I look at strangers, meaning that they are friends that we have not met yet. So once we've met, we will become friends. So these are the attitude that I personally have. Whenever I've met someone who I don't know, I don't treat them as a, I mean, like, they are strangers initially, of course, but then if you met them, you become friends. That's how I met all these people throughout my journey. I've benefited a lot from this encounter because, like I said, this friend in Sydney, you know how expensive it is to stay in Sydney if you stay in a hotel. So instead of staying in a hotel, you stay at his house. So you save on accommodation cost. So you can stay longer in that places. Same also like when you are in Xi'an, China. Of course, you have to pay if you want to have a tour guide to go and guide you around. But when you are traveling with the local friends, I mean, like someone that you've met and you make friends with them, they take you around without any additional charges, you know. So these are another advantage of making friends along the way when you're traveling. Okay. The third one is history, culture, and folklore. world history, of course, all of us learn about world history. We want to immerse ourselves with history. Sometimes, you know, it is very important for us to experience it rather than just learning it from textbook, you know. Our world has been billion years old and always been a pot full of intriguing stories, folklore, kingdoms, battles, changing borders, lands, water bodies, as well as housing, an insane number of fascinating creatures, flora and fauna. To be able to visit and behold these marvels at the location of their origins is itself an amazing experience. In this photo, you can see one of my road trip in Vietnam. I managed to watch like traditional games being played on the on the waterway there, you know, the Mekong River, using bamboo. I remember seeing similar games being played in my hometown, but this kind of games we don't play it anymore, you know. But because the simplicity of their lifestyle, maybe they still continue to have this kind of festival in their small town there. And then the second photo, you see there's a grand mosque of Xi'an. Xi'an used to be part of the Silk Route. You know, I think for some of you who do not know what Silk Route is where the trade from China to the to Europe, they pass through Central Asia. And Xi'an, being a city in the center of China, is one of the important cities on the Silk Route. And as you can see, this grand mosque was built about 150 years after the Islam come to this world via Prophet Muhammad. And you know how fast tradition travels from Middle East to Central China. So this, of course, there's a lot of other fascinating stories behind Xi'an being also the city of the terracotta warrior. You know, there's a lot of folklore behind it, historical facts, and also some legends that come together with it. And then the other photo is the a building in Canton, a house actually in Canton City in the Mekong Delta. And the last photo is a town in Taiwan, I think in Taichung, Taiwan, where you can see it's a night market, entrance into a night market in Taichung, Taiwan. So these are all the interesting things that you come across when you travel. The space in and around the historical structure, the details and the beauty personified. So you can actually spend hours and hours just observing human behavior, you observing architecture at the same time. Of course, we as an architect, we always like to watch architecture. Like for example, this gateway, the Grand Mosque in Xi'an Gateway, made of timber, hundreds of years old, and you know, the intricate carvings and how they managed to blend the traditional Chinese architecture into a mosque that was built hundreds of years ago. Okay. You always see similarities and differences, okay, of lifestyle, rituals, culture, and environment. Like I mentioned just now, I try to compare the lifestyle that we used to have when we were small. I mean, like when we were little, as compared to now. So you know, the traveling to different countries enable us to draw parallel between the different places and thus compare the different way of life, different responses to the environment, and ultimately different perspective of living. Within the country too, we can start comparing the landscape, cityscape, the similarities and dissimilarities among various cities. For example, what was surprising throughout the journey, you know, in China, I've given example just now, a grand mosque in Xi'an, and the other photo you can see that is actually a mosque in Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan also is part of the Silk Route. Kyrgyzstan is next to Kazakhstan. Used to be part of the USSR, but now they are an independent country. They are also dubbed as the Switzerland of Central Asia, because they are located on mountains. And as you can see, there are some similarities between the design of the mosque in Kazakhstan and mosque in Kyrgyzstan and mosque in Xi'an, China. And also there are differences. So these are what I mean by similarities and differences. And the other photo also show you the yurt, where they call it yurt, where the people, the nomadic people in Kyrgyzstan live. This yurt will be built during the winter when they want to stay in one particular area, but it also can be packed, dismantled and packed, moved to another places, because that's the nature of their life, being nomad culture. So you can observe this in Kyrgyzstan as well. There's also some similarities in northern China, Mongolia. So there are similar yurt, but maybe the detailings are slightly different. And this is what I mean by the similarities and differences. Environment, of course, you can see the difference of environment between all these different countries, and also culture. Architecture of simplicity. So this sometimes, when you are in a different countries, you tend to see some very complicated and intricate architecture, but at the same time, you can also compare that with the simplicity of life. For example, my tour to Brussels in Belgium, near the Grand Marketplace, the juxtapose of the extravagant and splendid Baroque and Gothic structure, architecture was also in the simplest of things. The narrow streets, shaking their way with 3-story buildings stacked tightly on both sides, offered a diverse palette of views with every turn that I looked. So that's what I mean by, simplicity in terms of the streetscape, the building facade, even though the detailings are very rich, but you can also see the simplicity behind it. Light and shadow, you can see the changing of the light play on the street, and also various architecture features. And being on foot, every corner presents something unique to pause and appreciate. When the scale of the streetscape changes, the proportion change completely. And in this photo, when I was walking along the Darling Harbour in Sydney, I can see the view of the Sydney Bridge from a different angle than what we used to see in photos. So that's also another things that you can discover when you're traveling. You can see things from a different angle. And then this is like a suburb in Sydney. I think it's near, I can't remember what's the name of the town where I stay. Like I mentioned just now, I stay with a friend. So I'm not staying in the city center. So this is also give you a chance to observe the lifestyle in the suburb. Some buildings which is built at a more human scale rather than the building that are built in the city, where sometimes it can be overwhelmingly out of scale or out of proportion. Okay. And then you can compare between rural and urban. Sense of place, sense of enter premises. The transition compel you to understand the simple life and day-to-day life, zooming out and focusing over entire cities, stretching out below in front of you in the marvelous sight indeed, unfolding secrets. As you can see in this photo, there are two contrasts, which is located in the same city. Both photos is from Japan. One is in Osaka. I think Osaka train station, if I'm not mistaken. That photo was taken in Kyoto. You know that Kyoto are more traditional and more, so you can see the people Kyoto. They are not dressed like that because of tourists. They are dressed like that because they are dressed like that because in Kyoto they try to preserve their traditional way of life. Some of the students who came to visit this place because other parts of Japan, like maybe they're coming from Tokyo or they're coming from Osaka, and then when they come to Kyoto, being a traditional city, they rent the dresses. You can rent the clothes to blend with the local people there. And then before you go, before you leave, you return back the dress. So that's a very interesting for you to observe urban and rural and all the fabrics that associated with both side of the country. Yeah. And then architects and their works. Of course, this is actually main reason why we travel. We want to see work of famous architect. And also ancient monument, like just now I show you the pyramids. Ancient monuments like Taj Mahal. You want to see the Fatehpur Sikri city, which was abandoned by the Mughals. These are some of the ancient monuments. And master architects, you want to see the work of Frank Lloyd Wright. You want to see the work of Le Corbusier, and other master architects. And contemporary architects like Zaha Hadid. Like in this photo, you can see IMP on top, and then the museum that was designed by Toyo Ito. The museum, that museum was located in Taichung, Taiwan. Actually, both buildings are actually in Taichung, Taiwan. The church was located in a university, Tunghai University, where we were doing our projects, a joint studio at that time. So we were quite fortunate that we were able to enter into the building and view this magnificent building. The excitement in witnessing the master architect works with our own eyes cannot be spelled. The manifestation of studying their work and philosophies, drawing their sketches during our school in front of us in reality does make the travel worth it. As an architect, when I was a student last time, we learned the first book that we read, the Dekaching book. Remember, in the Dekaching book that taught us the basic principles of architecture, like from dot go to line, line go to shape, shape goes to form, and all these things. You learn about proportion, when they draw it on a Roman column, the Roman order, and things like that. So learning it is one thing, but observing it, viewing it, touching it is another thing. It's another level of feeling. So that's why we need to travel and we need to experience all these things that we've learned in our studio in person. Nature. The last one is, of course, nature. Colors, texture, architecture of nature. Architecture of nature is meaning that the God being the creator of the whole world. So he's they create everything for a reason, and sometimes we try to emulate nature by choosing certain principle to become our concept in design. So it's good for us if we can go and observe all these places. Being with nature just build onto the relationship which we forgot in our hustle, the magical silence that developed because of this oneness has always compelled us to travel more. Travel to get daily life by source of our creation. So that's the first part of my talk, which I think, why do architects travel? These are the things that we observe. These are the things that we will benefit from when we travel, and when we come back, we can always maybe incorporate some of these things into our design work. Okay, the next part of my talk, I'm going to share with you how to travel like an architect. So this is according to my opinion, how to travel like an architect. Like I mentioned just now, we don't travel like tourists, If you just go like in package tour and all that, probably you will not benefit, will not gain most benefit from your travel. So this is how I think that how to travel like an architect. First, make a list of your favorite architectural work. Okay, this one, I think while you are, all of you are students, when you come across certain precedent study in your research of, coming up with your design, maybe you start listing down all these favorite architecture work. Maybe you like Zaha Hadid, you want to watch Zaha Hadid, you want to see Zaha Hadid work. So then you make a list and note the location, work. So you again note down what are the. So you make the list first. This list can be either virtually, you have a list in your phone, or you have on how sophisticated is the phone or your your gadget. Still have a hard copy with you, like a notebook or a sketchbook with you to do notes and sketches. Number 2 is learn architecture photography. Okay, this one I don't know whether it been taught in your studio. Like in my case, last time when I was a student in UITM, we have a special one course that teach us how to take photograph. How to. Of course, those days we don't have digital camera. We use a manual camera. But nowadays, the new generations are more lucky. More easier for you to get access to this gadget for you to take good photograph. But again, sometimes the gadget is not useful if you don't know how to see what are the things that you need to take photos. So learn architecture photography. Architecture photography now can be learned online. You can learn via YouTube. There are many tutorials on how to take good photography and or architecture photography. And then the next one is sketch or take notes of the architecture details. This one, I think many students when they travel, they didn't do this, which I feel that it's a loss to them. I don't expect you to sit there and sketch for like more than 2 hours. But what you need to do is just take some important detailings, and then take photograph. And then in your free time, when you return to your studio, you can finish up your sketches. And as you can see here, there's a student that we take to visit Borobudur in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. We insist that you spend, since you pay $20 to enter, because this is the World Heritage site. So of course, you have to pay to enter the Borobudur. I can't remember. I think it's roughly about $20. So make full use of it. Don't spend just like half an hour, take selfie and then go back. Take some do some sketches. Talk to the locals, and So this is what my student did there. They sit down there, do some sketches. We went there during the sunrise. We stayed there all the way until afternoon, like almost 3-4 hours we spent at the site. Because the Borobudur is a wonderful monument that you do not want to miss any details and any part of this place. So I'm just giving you an example. And then experiencing the building by observing and walking around. Okay, walking around. This is also another things that a lot of students miss when they travel, or a lot of people miss when they travel. They just like to, maybe they're lazy, or maybe they're not used to walk around. So they just like go down the tour bus, take photograph, selfie and all that, then go back, go up the bus and walk. You will lose a lot of things if you don't walk around. Yeah? Getting lost in a city is not something which you need to be afraid of. Actually, that's what we need to do. We just walk around and getting lost. Nowadays, I think it's quite impossible to totally get lost because you always have your phone with you. And they can always on your Google Map and find your location to go back to your hotel. So in this photo, I show you the wandering around in Xi'an city. You know, it's the Muslim quarters, they call it. I was quite surprised at that time to find out that Xi'an, like half of Xi'an is actually the Muslim quarters. This is where the busiest part of Xi'an, because it's the most touristy part, because a lot of people, not only foreign tourists, but also local Chinese who came to this place because of the variety of food that they have. You know, that's the photo of the food. You know, because it's an influence of not only Chinese food, you have, you know, from Central Asia, from Middle East, they have pasta, they have, you know, you name it, they have it. So the, because Xi'an is located at the route, Silk Route, so these all different influence that come into the food. So you have a lot of things to do also in this place by just walking around. Another way of saving the cost also, you know, when you walk instead of taking bus or taking taxi or taking public transportation, when you walk, you tend to come across a lot more things, like this park that I come across in Xi'an, which is not shown on any of the tourist map, but it's quite an interesting place to be. And then once you have taken photograph or whatever, you share your journey with your contacts, with your friends who are not there, or you know, nowadays it's very easy. You have social media, you share it on Facebook, or you share it on your Instagram for others to see what you able to share. This is part of the joy of traveling as well, sharing your traveling experience. Okay. Inspire your friends and family by sharing your architecture journey. Talk about how your favorite architecture work make you feel and how it make them feel when they get to first-hand experience it. And you could also start a blog, you know, for your architecture travel and inspire a lot of other people who are also interested in architecture, and also to help you getting started with your blog. You can always start it by just simply uploading your travel experience on your social media, you know, like Facebook and Instagram, and also Twitter if you have. You know, I don't have Twitter, but you know, I'm sure that all of you now, or various others like TikTok or whatever new apps that come up with. So at least it will be beneficial to you, to many, rather than just simply taking selfies and also some TikTok video for your TikTok account. Okay, now we move to the last part of the talk, which is how to travel. How to travel. You know that when you are traveling, because this I receive a lot of queries from friends and you know, and also students. You know, how do you travel? How do you manage to travel? You know, because travel usually need a lot of money. You know, so I'm gonna share with you here how to travel cheap. Okay, but before that, I need to share with you how do I get to travel the first time. When I was a student, it started way back in 1992. When I was a student doing my Acacia Student Jamboree. You know, at that time in UITM, my lecturer asked me to write an article to be submitted for Acacia because PAM offer a travel scholarship. Actually, that year, PAM offered 3 travel scholarships. During that time, 1992, only 3 architecture school. One is USM, second is UTM, third one is UITM. So usually PAM going to sponsor 1 student from each university, so total 3, to go to Acacia Student Jamboree. That year it was held in Lahore, Pakistan. So that's so I'm being, I think, my my first year, advanced diploma. So you know, I think 6 of us was asked to write this article, and up only 3 submitted. Actually, student those days also like similar. So me and the other 2 students submitted. But then the other 2 students just tell me that, well, I don't want to go, you go. So so that's how I don't even, you know, need to put much effort on this to get that travel scholarship for my first ever traveling overseas. So I have to do my passport. I do to this is actually you know, being ignorant about traveling and all that. You know, I come from a very small kampung, so the most we travel to Singapore. You know, Singapore, you don't have. I mean, I'm from Johor, so I think a border pass or something like that. Travel to Singapore, but this time around, when I want to travel to Pakistan, those days, you know, KLIA is not finished yet. We have to travel from Subang Airport. We will take a flight from Subang to Singapore. From Singapore, we take a flight to Karachi. From Karachi to Lahore. So that's like a very long journey. It's almost 24 hours total to reach that destination. But that's actually the first, my first overseas travel. Of course, I've got that PAM travel scholarship. But to my surprise, when I reached Lahore, I was actually the only students from Malaysia. The other 2 universities, USM and UTM, the student didn't turn up. I think because of, it was a holiday at that time, so the student just do not want to go. But anyway, because the winner of that competition, they have a competition at that time. I was not the winner of the competition. The winner is actually from USM. So, and I'm supposed to because I'm representing Malaysia, and these are actually entry from Malaysia, so I have to stand in front of the boards, you know, explaining like an expert as if that is my design, but actually it was done by the USM student. Vertical farming. so you know, my first time presenting something which is not mine. But anyway, it's a very interesting experience that I had that, you know, of course, all the flight are fully sponsored. And, you know, whenever you travel with architects, that's, you know, all your meals are also being paid for by architects. I remember first time meeting Picasso, meeting with Jimmy Lim, architect Jimmy Lim, meeting with the late, at the time he was the PAM president. So we were traveling together. So that's also how, you know, I managed to get to know all these people from PAM. And also, you know, that's how I started to open my eyes on all the different possibilities that I can do, you know, when talking to all these very famous architects. Okay, that's how I started in traveling. And then in second year, my thesis topic was Johor Bahru Civic Center. I mentioned just now that I'm from Johor. So I want to do something which is located near my state, you know, which is located in my state, which is Johor Bahru is the capital state. So I want to do a civic center in Johor Bahru. And in order for me to gather information, because one of my senior advised me that he said that, you know, you need to go and visit other civic centers around the world, not only in Malaysia, because at that time Malaysia's not many, only one, maybe in Shah Alam you have a civic center there, but you know, basically the rest are are located overseas. And the word civic itself come from a Greek words, from a Latin words. So it just shows that it's actually the buildings are located all overseas. And it happens that the senior that advised me to do that, because he do Royal Palace. His thesis is actually Royal Palace, and he visited all the Royal Palace around the region and all the states of Malaysia to come up with this thesis. So I was inspired by him, saying that, okay, I need to go. I need to trace back the history of Civic Center from its roots, which is in Greece. I thought at that time, Greek and Roman architects in Greece. But of course, another opportunity come across. At that time, before I continue my part 2, I was working for 2 years in architect urbanism. That's when I met with architect Muzamil. At that time, he was my junior, but because he studied only for 1 year before his continued study, so we left urbanism together. I continued in UITM Shah Alam, and he went to Oxford Brookes University in UK. So, and my urban study is in Johor Bahru, and his urban study is in Barcelona. So, I was like, oh my God, I said that, I envy him because he will be able to travel in Europe. He sent me postcard. So I say, okay, never mind. Since you are there, I will, because I have worked for 2 years, so I have some money for my flight ticket. So I say, but make sure that when I reach UK, you're going to sponsor me. I'm going to stay with you. And, you're going to help me reduce my budget. Of course, I bring some money also, just in case. So I'm just thinking that I just want to go to UK and, maybe look at some of the buildings there, and when I want to purchase my ticket, I go through a travel agent, which also happened to be my friend, my school from my friend from MRSM days. He said that, oh, okay, you take Royal Jordan airline. They have a special offer, 3 day, 4 nights transit in Amman, Jordan. So meaning that on the way to London, you can stop by in Amman, Jordan for 3 day, 4 nights. 3 day, 2 nights. You just need to pay 200 ringgit, which I think, oh, okay, this is quite worth it. And plus 2 tour, because these are part of the Royal Jordan promoting Jordan as a travel destination. And in that brochure also, they mentioned that there's a ancient Roman cities in Jordan. This is Jerash, they call it. So, and then part of the package tour that was come together with this, for 200 ringgit. So I just pay I think the ticket cost maybe 2,000 ringgit, 2,200. So I managed to get my return ticket to London, and at the same time, 3 days, 2 nights in Jordan. So that's how I started. And then, when I reached, of course, Jordan, we went to Petra, we went to Dead Sea, and Jerash, study all the Roman ruins and all that. Then fly to London. From London, then my friend architect Muzamil picked me up and take me to Oxford. Of course, being in Oxford, a beautiful city, study all the architecture there. And then, there are so many Malaysian students studying there. And the trick that my friend Muzamil teach me, okay, every day I visited different houses, meeting with different Malaysian, and then because at that time he was participating in a competition, like architecture student during break also, they don't take a break. I mean, I don't know about students nowadays. Students those days are like that. They never go back kampung, no balik kampung. So they always do something like competition and all that. So this Muzamil also, they are entering, I think, a British steel competition or something like, which they won after that, but at that time, we don't know yet that they are going to win that competition. But I was so unhappy because, I thought that he's going to take me around. But instead, today he take me to his friend's house, say, hey, okay, I have a friend coming from Kuala Lumpur. Can you take him showing around? So, I met with Architect Mbong at that time. Architect Mbong now is a lecturer in UITM. So, he took me around. And then the next day, he introduced me to another student, Dr. Mastura. He's now a lecturer in UM. So Dr. Mastura took me around. So, every day there will be different people taking me around, not only in Oxford, but also you know, we take a train to London, to Bristol, to Isles of Wight, a lot of the place, because I spent, I think, almost a month in Oxford, because UITM break is about 1 month, I think 1 month something, right? So that's how I started when I traveled as a student. Oh, another thing, and then when I met with one person, you know, we went to, actually, she took me to London on the way to visit her sister at another university. I think this is Ida. Ida, she's now a lecturer in UPM. So she took me to Natural History Museum of London, because I want to do civic center, so Natural History Museum. So we went to visit Natural History Museum, and then there's a French embassy in front of the Natural History Museum. So she told me, if you want to go to France, you go and apply for your visa here. So I said, I have no plan to go to France, because I don't have, I don't bring enough much money. So I said, oh, no problem. Later, when we go back to Oxford, there's an agency who organize travel for students. You can get discount. Just show your UITM student card. So, okay, I say. So I queue, get my visa. At that time, you want to go to France, you need to have a visa. Nowadays, no need. You don't have to have a visa. You can fly direct to France. So then we go back to Oxford. You know, Architect Mbong went to the library, get a book for me. What is it called? You know, as a guide for me to travel to Europe using this book, and bought a ticket. I think total about 80 pounds. I think 80 pounds. You can get a ticket from London, Paris, Amsterdam, Brussels. You know, basically around Europe. So that's how I got my, you know, my first experience traveling alone in Europe. You know, on a bus. We take the bus. It's like an open ticket. You know, you cost about 80 pounds. And then whenever you reach a country, like in Paris, I stay in youth hostel. Using my student cards, so I get discount. Then when I'm in Brussels, also same thing. You know, in Amsterdam, also same thing. Stay in youth hostel. First experience staying in one room, like 10 people maybe sharing a room, and you know, people from all over the world. This is also how I meet with friends. Okay, I think I've talked so much about that experience. So basically, that's how it started. As a student, I've already traveled. You know, in fact, I missed my flight. I missed my flight from London coming back to KL. Quite fortunate at that time. The aeroplane company also make a mistake, so I don't have to pay additional. It's just that I have to reschedule my flight to the next week. You know, so I extended my stay for another week in London. You know, before coming back to Kuala Lumpur. So basically, that's what my experience while traveling, and because of that, I've become brave, you know, to travel alone. You know, because of the support that I got from all the friends, you know, in Oxford University at that time. So so that's how it started. So that's how you reduce your cost in transportation. One, like I said, get to know as many people as you can. Then you can travel. Okay, in this photo, these are the friends that I met in Saigon. The first one that I'm on the motorbike. So that one, he took me around on a motorbike. We went to about 1 hour away from Saigon on a motorbike to visit this bamboo building designed by Von Tron, architect Von Tron. You know, now I think the building is already now demolished. You know, if you travel traffic condition in Saigon, so that he took me on a motorbike to go there. So which I appreciate it very much. And then the photo that a photo of us four together. This is my host in Myanmar. Myanmar. So he took me to they were rock climber. They were rock climber. So and you notice the same person, the one in photo on the motorbike, because he also travel. So when we sort of like arrange that, okay, when we want to go to Myanmar, it happened to be the same time. So, you know, we can meet again in Myanmar, in Yangon, and stay at this another person's house. They, the couple, you know, they were a rock climber. So these are actually how to save on accommodation, where you stay with other people. And the third cost come from visa. So that these are the major costs when you are traveling. So that's what I said. Transport. These are the things that you need to consider. Use budget airline. We have so much. You know, Malaysia are quite fortunate. We are located at the hub of budget airlines. We have Malindo, we have AirAsia, we have Firefly, we have a lot of budget airline, which is very cheap. And then now we have Scoot Airline. Scoot Airline is also a budget airline that fly to Europe. So last time when I went to Greece, I took Scoot Airline also from Changi Airport, go to Athens. And then from there, took a lot of other cheap airline also. They have Pegasus, they have so many. Now I can't even remember. I just go to a travel website, search for the cheapest flight ticket and buy the ticket. It's actually very cheap, like sometimes 100 ringgit, 150 ringgit, just to fly around Europe. My flight to Athens actually cost me 900 ringgit one way, from Kuala Lumpur to Athens, 900. But then of course I break my journey and all that. So that's budget. And then group traveling. As I mentioned just now, when you travel, you find your group. My first time travel when I was in Jordan, you know, remember I mentioned that I won the, I went on my way to UK. We went to Jordan. I met with these two Japanese girls. They have problems because they can't speak English. So they always come across some issues where they cannot explain with the Arabs, you know, because, you know, they cannot speak Arabs, they cannot speak English, just use sign language. And also another person who was returning to Canada. So the four of us travel on a taxi, you know, so it's cheaper when you travel in a group. We book a taxi to go to the Dead Sea, because Dead Sea is not part of the package. So we went to the Dead Sea. Of course, Petra is part of the package. Jarash also is part of the package. So that one is not an issue. And also, when we travel to, this one is travel in Vietnam, travel with friends, then cheap when you, instead of staying in a hostel, you can stay in a hotel, share, for you, share in a room rather than, so that's what I mean by group travel or pooling. You pool your resources. And then don't avoid using transportation. I mean, most of the time you just need to walk. You walk around. When you go in Saigon, you just walk around. You know, of course, some of the cities are not pedestrian friendly. You know, like Saigon is not pedestrian friendly. But you will make do. You know, you will find out where to walk around the city, and it's quite interesting to observe all these things. But most of the European countries are, you know, Rome, all these are walk. You can walk. Basically, you just walk. Don't need to take any transportation. So, okay, as I said, I've shared that's how you reduce the cost. Instead of trying premium airline, you go for budget airline. Instead of traveling alone, you travel with the group. And instead of taking transportation, you walk. Second one, accommodation. Accommodation, as I said, stay with friends and family. When I was in UK, it happens that my sister followed her husband doing his PhD in Birmingham. So that's how I plan to go to UK, stay in UK. Then from there, I fly to other places. Second option is stay with strangers. I mentioned just now my concept of strangers. Strangers is friends that you have not met yet. So, okay, how do you meet with these strangers? There are a website called couch surfing. There are a few actually. Couch surfing is just one of an example of you know, a pool of all these traveler which will offer their house for you to stay. And of course, they have their profile, just like your Facebook. You know, they have their profile, and then it's not compulsory for you to accept or decline, and it's up to you whether you want to accept or decline their invitation. Sometimes when you put your you post your travel itinerary on the website, someone will offer you to host you. For example, in Xi'an, of course, I mentioned just now, I travel with UTAR students, but I travel earlier, 2 days earlier than the students. So, you know, I don't stay in a hotel. I stay with this English teacher in Xi'an. He was from New Zealand. He teach English in China, in Xi'an. And because he also need international friends, so that's why he joined this couch surfing. So whenever there's a traveler or you know, coming to Xi'an, he will offer a place to stay at his place. So I stay with him. So, and because he's also a traveler in China, so he also took me around. I mean, we went around also because he's also a visitor. And at the same time, another local Chinese in Xi'an, as I mentioned just now, they get in touch with you because they want to practice their English, you know. So, but this guy did not offer to for me to stay at his house, but offered to take me around. So both of us see him, and he took us around. And it's not like special place or not. The one that you saw, the photo here, is actually a cooking demonstration. Amway product, because Amway just introduced in China. So this guy is actually an Amway agent. So he took us to this Amway demonstration, which is okay. We stay there, stay for the demonstration for 1.5 hours, and then he took us around for free. So it's all worth it. Huh? And then this is my host in Lahore, Pakistan. He was a professor in a university Management Technology of Lahore, Pakistan. But he's not an architecture lecturer. He's lecturing in political science, if I'm not mistaken. So I stay with him, and he also took me around. And the other photo here show me my host in Milan, Italy. So meaning that it's not only in Asian country you can find hosts, you can also find hosts in Italy, in in other places. This host, he not only hosted me, allowed me to stay in his house, he also cooked for me, cook a very nice pasta, you know, Italian pasta. So that's and then the last thing is a charity and volunteer. Sometimes you want to stay for free. There are some charity organization. In return, that you need to do something for charity. I joined once one activities in Saigon, actually, teaching English also, teaching English to orphan. You know, you join that, and then you can stay for free. And at the same time, what you need to do is just teach their students English, maybe for 2 hours like that. So it's just like another lecture. So you give lectures, and then you know, and then you also do this for charity. So I think it works. I think it's beneficial for both sides. So that's part of how to reduce your accommodation costs. Of course, the other options are stay in hostels and all that. I think that those you guys know, but I think save a lot more on if you're staying with friends and also staying with strangers. Another one is, which I will add to the cost, is visa. Visa costs. So how to reduce that? Choose a free visa country or country that allow visa on entry. I mentioned just now Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan, no need visa. Kazakhstan need visa. So I go to Kyrgyzstan because Kazakhstan need visa. So I don't go to Kazakhstan. I'm sorry, Turkmenistan. Actually, Turkmenistan is more beautiful because Turkmenistan, where you have the all those ancient, you know, Islamic architecture, like Samarkand, that's located in Turkmenistan. But the visa cost is very expensive. So, you know, I choose Kyrgyzstan because no visa fees. Thailand, of course, no visa fee. Italy, most of country in Europe, no visa fees. Sofia is in Bulgaria. Bulgaria also no fee, no fees. So you know, you visit all this country and yet you still have the same experience and you still can see some beautiful buildings, beautiful architecture. And the second part is travel with VIP. Okay, travel with VIP. I have experience traveling with a member of parliament from Malaysia. We don't even need to have our passport. You just, you know, be transported directly to wherever that they are traveling. So because this one is, again, I said, way of you to cut your costs. And then multiple entry visa. Okay, like if you want to visit a place in China, so, you know, they have a multiple entry visa, which costs more than like single entry, but you save some money in terms of, you know, you pay 2 for 5 visits, something like that. So multiple entry visa, if you want to, you plan to travel to either India or China, these are, you know, these two countries, their visa is very expensive. I think India is more expensive. I think India is about 400 ringgit the visa. So you need to really plan your trip for the year. Meaning that if you want to go to India, plan 1 year so you can have a multiple entry. You can go to, you know, maybe Jaipur, you can go to Delhi, you can go to Mumbai or something else, because they are big. Same also as China. You can go to Shanghai, you can go to Beijing, you can go to Xi'an. By using multiple entry visa. Okay, so these are the 3 tips for you to save on your traveling costs. And then the last part is how to travel for almost free. Just now you still have to pay. This one is almost free. So I said here, 1, competition, 2, conference, number 3 is university event. Okay, this I'm just putting an example. Thesis of the year organized by Acacia. I think the next host is going to be in Thailand, Chiang Mai. I think I'm not so sure where's the host, but basically, if you won the competition, they will sponsor your trip. And then PAM student, of course, they have the Acacia competition also just close. I mean, you know, the next Acacia gathering is going to be in Shanghai. So if you won that competition, you also will get to travel free to this country. I mentioned just now, competition organized by local with lucrative prizes. Okay, I've won one competition with a free return ticket to London. So that's organized by local with lucrative prizes. International competition, I mentioned just now, this photo here, the winner of last year Acacia competition, I think student from UITM and also from UCSI, I think, UCSI, they got to travel to Dhaka, fully sponsored by PAM, because they win the Acacia competition. And the other photo is showing the bird bamboo competition in Guangzhou, where we sent 6 of our students, also sponsored by the university because it's an international competition, and we won 3rd prize. That's also another way of you to travel almost free. And then you have travel grant. Travel grant, example just now, the one that I received, PAM Travel Scholarship. Now it's cost about 5,000, where you able to travel any destination that you choose. So these are the things that you can apply for or you can participate in. Second one is conference. Okay, this one, of course, some of you are doing your master's, maybe your PhD, you have a research paper, and then if your paper being published, of course, if you want to publish or present your papers, you have to pay sometimes. You have to pay for the conference. But if you were invited as the keynote speaker, for example, like for example, I'm giving you an example here. I was invited as a keynote speaker in Universitas Warmadewa. So basically, they will pay for my expenses because of the research paper that I did. And of course, in Manila, also I presented my paper, but that one I pay. because I want to go to Manila. I have not been to Manila, so I pay. And then in Jaipur also, you know, there's a conference in Jaipur. Being a conference participant, we pay also. One good thing about joining a conference like this, because usually the host will organize a special tour for conference participant. For example, normally they don't allow you to enter the parliament building. When we were in Dhaka, Bangladesh, you know, there's a famous parliament building designed by Louis Ihan. Well, if you are not, if you go there as a tourist, probably they don't allow you to visit the parliament building. But because we go as a conference participant, they organize a special visit to the parliament building, so you will be able to view Louis Ihan work. So this is an example. Same also like sponsored by Japan Foundation, Docomomo. It's for free, and also they organize a special visit, so we managed to enter the Parliament of Indonesia as well. So these are the advantage of attending conference. And then the last is the university. So sometimes you have to pay, sometimes you pay, but at a very discounted prices, because the university will maybe subsidize some of the costs, or totally free. It depends, you know, for certain event. And then we have joint program. Joint program, I'm showing here. One thing is our joint studio program with Tung Hai University. So the student able to travel to Taiwan, you know, and when they come to Malaysia, they also we take them to Malacca and all that, you know, reciprocate. And the other photo that show me with the deans of Faculty of Architecture, FSPU, UITM, Shah Alam. We were invited to go to Osaka University. I can't remember what's the name of the university, because they have some joint program. Because I was a guest lecturer in UITM, not architecture program. This is more like a project management side. In Shah Alam, it's not in Puncak Alam. You know, so you know, they also invited me to join the visit. So that's what I mean by university organized event. And then university MOU partners event. This is meaning like a certain event, for example, the PAAU that we had last year. It's a collaboration between a few universities that took turn to host this event. So last year, UTAR was the host. So that's the photo of us taking these delegates from India, from other universities around the world to KLCC. So this is also, of course, Malaysia. But when it comes to their university, when we send our student there, then they will have to take our students around. So these are another way of traveling that during your student times, where you can actually reduce the cost. Okay, I think that's the last thing. The last slides. I hope you guys managed to get some tips and benefit from my talk. And before I end up, so this is a photo of me in Myanmar. I think it's in not Yangon, somewhere, can't remember what's the name of the place. What I want to share here is actually when you travel, you do not have to, you have to, I mean, if you dress like local, you will get a lot of benefits. Like this one, because I wear longi, the kain plekat, the longi dress, just like the Myanmaris. So I don't have to pay for entrance fee for the museums, the temples, because they thought that I'm local, because I dress like local. So this is another tips also that some of you, maybe I was fortunate because my face, when I'm in the Philippines, I can I can be a Filipino. When I'm in Indonesia, I can be like an Indonesian. When I travel to Myanmar, also I look like a Myanmarese. So that's use that to your advantage, wear like a local, and they will treat you like a local, and you pay local prices. Because in some of this country, if you are tourist, you have to pay more. So I think with that, I will end up my my talk this round. I hope you have benefit, many of you, and I'll return the floor to the MC. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Abd Muluk, for the wonderful talk. I hope everyone enjoyed it and gained many insights, and perhaps even go traveling tomorrow. If you have any questions,
After
you
the
can just...
MCO.
Yes, after the MCO. So if you have any questions, you can type it in the chat box. There's one question. The first question is actually from myself. So
Okay.
my name is Janelle, and I'm from UPM. So during this time of pandemic, traveling has become harder. What other ways can we experience architecture of different countries? Or maybe it's better to try traveling within our own country, Malaysia.
Oh, okay. This one is quite interesting. You know that a lot of the countries in ASEAN is suffering. Their tourism industry suffer because people are not allowed to travel overseas. However, it's different in Malaysia. Most of the hotels in Langkawi, in Port Dickson, in tourist area in Malaysia are full, because Malaysian took this take this advantage of having like sale, because a lot of the hotel offer very cheap price for you to stay in their hotel. So I think it's better maybe to focus on local tourism. You travel to local destination, because I'm sure there's a lot more places that you haven't been. I mean, there's another things, as an architect from Malaysia, sometimes when you travel, people will ask you certain things about certain places in Malaysia. But if you have not traveled to that place, for example, for some people who haven't been to Penang, being a World Heritage City, so a lot of people have interest to ask you about Penang. But if you have not been there, probably you won't be able to answer their questions. Malacca, and also Kota Kinabalu, Kuching, all these cities are very interesting and worth visit. So I think maybe during this MCO, use this opportunity of very low prices in some of the hotels, not all the hotels. There are still some hotels are very expensive in Langkawi, and in Tioman Island, in Cherating, in Kota Baru. There's not there's a lot of places that we can go in our own country. So I think while during this MCO, maybe we should focus on local traveling first, in preparations of going overseas after the pandemic is over. Oh, okay. Another thing that I want to share. Do you know that Kuala Lumpur has the work of a lot of the international architects? Maybe not many of you also do not realize that Kuala Lumpur has the work of many, like Norman Foster, Kenzo Tange, Cesar Pelli, Louis Ihan. All of them, their works are in Kuala Lumpur and also in Penang. The geodesic dome, who's that? Buckmaster Fuller. You can actually see his work in Komta, Penang, and there are some big shots architects also has their work in Kuala Lumpur. So maybe you cover this and look for information about these master architects who are in. His work is already in Malaysia.
Wow, never thought of that. Thank you.
Okay.
We have another question. So, hi sir, I am Vinci from UCSI University. It was an interesting presentation. Do you have any low budget country recommendation that is worthy for architecture students to go, except Vietnam and Taiwan?
Low budget. Bangladesh, like I said just now, Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, Geoffrey Bawa, have a lot of work from Geoffrey Bawa in Sri Lanka. At the moment now, of course, there's no flight going to Colombo, but this I'm talking about after the MCO. After the MCO, you probably want to consider Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, the visa also is not very expensive, not as expensive as India, but there are a lot of things to see also in Sri Lanka. My experience traveling in Sri Lanka, again, I use couchsurfing, and I managed to get a host in Colombo, and also another state, another city. I think about maybe 3 or 4 hours on a bus. Stay with him. He happened to be an engineer, so he took me around the area where he stayed. But I still would like to go again to Sri Lanka because of the safari. You also get to go to the safari, the elephant safari. And also the northern part where they have the famous Buddha tooth or something like that, Buddha tooth temple or something like that. But basically, haven't been to some of these places. And also in Colombo itself, there are some work by famous architect, like Moshe Shafdi. One of these buildings is actually in Colombo. Another country that you may want to consider is, of course, Indonesia, our neighbor. You can go to Jakarta. I think they have improved a lot in terms of the urban scape. Those days, you have to take transportation to travel from one place to the other. But now I think they are upgrading their infrastructure. So now you have more a facility for pedestrian, and it's also interesting to see how they want to cater for universal access and all that, RAM and all that. So these are 2 countries that I would recommend all of the students to consider. Of course, already that Yogyakarta, Bali, of course, Bali is another destination, but Yogyakarta also is another place that I would recommend everyone to go, because you have a Buddhist temple, the biggest Buddhist temple in Southeast Asia, which is the Borobudur, and at the same time they have the biggest Hindu temple, ancient Hindu temple in Yogyakarta also, which is the Prambanan temple. Both are actually UNESCO World Heritage sites. All right.
Okay, thank you for the recommendations. For now, there aren't any more questions before we end this.
I was the convener for the PEM Travel Scholarship for the last 2 years, I think, or 3 years. When we opened the travel scholarship, we didn't receive many application, and the scholarship was 5,000, which is a lot. It will cover a lot of places. And for some, our last 2 years winner won the PEM Travel Scholarship. She's from She used the money to help the earthquake victim somewhere, and then with that research, she won another scholarship in Norman Foster Scholarship, I think. And then from there, she do her internship in Spain. So basically, it opened up a lot of opportunity for her by getting this travel scholarship. And the advantage of this travel scholarship, you can plan your own destination. It doesn't specify where to go. You can go anywhere, So that's so I hope that next time, of course, this year we don't have any travel scholarship offered because of the pandemic. So I think next year probably we're gonna offer it again. Usually we offer about 2 places, two a year. So you can write in your proposal. Tell us where do you want to go, what do you want to do, what are the area of interest that you're gonna study, and how you're gonna be able to contribute back to PEM you know, in terms of maybe like organizing a webinar like this to present your work. So I think that's what I would like to do, because it has changed me a lot. I was fortunate because I got that chance of traveling overseas when I was a student, and because of that, it connects me to a lot of other things, you know, increase my confidence, my networking. Networking is another thing, at that time, because you guys are students, you know, you don't know what they're going to be in the future. You know, some of them may be a politician and become a minister, you know, among your colleague or someone that you met, you know. So, and it will work to your advantage maybe in the future, you know. So that's why I want very much like to encourage you to travel and use this advantage of being an architecture student, because you are exposed to a lot of things. You know, when you're presenting your work, it's like improving your communication skills as well. So these are the skills that requires you when you travel, as you know, like when you travel also you need to communicate with people. So you find whatever avenue possible for you to communicate to that person, not only using language, sometimes using sketches. And because you always have your sketchbook with you, you can end up that sketching the things for people to understand what you're trying to look for. So okay, I think that's what I can leave to students, to everyone.
Thank you. So we have come to the end of this seminar. Thank you once again to Abd Muluk for the wonderful talk. And thank you everyone for joining us for today's online lecture. We hope you enjoyed it. Keep in touch with our MASA's Instagram and Facebook page for the next one. And until then, have a nice day, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you, sir.